Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video with an airplane flying over me. Maybe you can't hear that anyway. Okay. Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video where I answer gardening questions on Sunday, but I happen to be filming this on Friday. Thanks for all the participation. I got lots of good questions from last week. Again, you can ask gardening questions down below. You can also make any random comment for a chance to win a consultation with me. Link down below this video. I do 50-minute consultations with folks. You send some photos in advance and I look at them, and then we talk through some things, give hopefully some good guidance. I did a giveaway 2 weeks ago, announced the winner last week, met with that person today, went well, several of you signed up for consultations and for a gift card. I also have a gift card option if you want to give somebody else a consultation with me. It's also on that same web page. But anyway, any comment below this video will put you in a drawing. Next Sunday, I will announce a winner for a free consultation with me. There you go. That's all. Let me see. I have a new channel called Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Today, as I'm filming, there's only one video on it. I hope that by Sunday, when you guys are watching it, I'll have 2 or 3. There's going to be lots. I'm going to kind of separate the channel a bit because I think this channel is a bit all over the place. And so that channel is going to be nothing but plant, basically. It's just going to be all plants all the time. So individual descriptions of individual plants that I have had experience with and how to use them in the landscape and how they perform and problems you might run into with them, that kind of thing. Then there will be videos combining those plants together. Starting that channel, all of the plants that I cover are going to be in more detailed plant list. So the first video that's up there is an Akuba variety, and I've put it's zone 7 to 9, but I haven't just put it in a zone 7, 8, and 9 playlist. I've actually created playlists for zone 7 shade plant, zone 8 shade plant. And so that channel will have plants for all of you, anybody watching. There'll be plants for zone 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And I'm going to refine that channel more as I build this out. And hopefully, if you're looking for, a full sun plant for zone 5 screening plant, zone 5 screening plant, let's say, I'm going to have a playlist for you. It's going to take me a little while to build that out. I need 1,000 followers and 4,000 hours watched in order to monetize a channel on YouTube. So if you want to go over there and subscribe, I would not everybody asks you to hit that bell notification. I probably wouldn't hit that bell notification because I'm going to be putting up a lot of videos over there pretty quickly to build that channel out. So the bell notification, it may drive you crazy if you're getting notified all the time that I'm putting up videos, but there will be lots of videos going up on there. Hopefully there's more than the one as you're watching this on Sunday morning. Anyway, channel's linked below. Let's get to some questions. Somebody asked last week, they were going to plant some Viburnum Tinus, which was actually in a video, that Sean Gherkin video that I did a week before last, I think is when that one went up. We talked about Viburnum Tinus, but they had been told they smell bad. Lots of Viburnum smell bad. Many Viburnum are so sweet that they actually pass the sweet smell and become almost offensive, and that would describe Tinus, but Tinus is not as bad as many of them. I don't consider Tinus is nothing compared to some really stinky Viburnum, so I wouldn't let that be a deterrent. They only bloom for a few weeks anyway, so it's not that big of a deal on Viburnum Tinus. But there are some Viburnum that are really quite pungent, and then there's some that are on the okay side and smell, they're not so sweet that they're stinky, but the vast majority of them are actually kind of smelly. Somebody brought a Plectranthus inside. It's a purple flowering perennial. They're hardy in zone 10 and 11, maybe in 9, but I don't think so. Mine's already died completely over here. I just replace it every year, but they bring theirs in and forgot to water it, and it's lost all its foliage, and wanted to know if it's dead. It's probably not going to survive that being so early in the cycle of it being inside. And so that's the bad news. I know nobody wants to ever hear bad news on here. I think if it had defoliated sometime later in the winter and you were soon to be putting it outside, you might be able to rescue it. If you get some warmer days, I'd get that thing outside. So like for me today, I'm in shorts and short sleeve shirt, December, whatever today is, 17th or whatever it is. Today I would have that Plectranthus outside. Might give it some chance, but again, being so early in the winter, it's got a lot of fight to go to survive anyway. So maybe, but I'm doubtful. Somebody asked me if Mexican petunias grow here because they have them down in Georgia and in zone 8, and then made a comment about them being a little aggressive. Yeah, they're a little aggressive. They're not as bad here. Yeah, Mexican petunias grow fine here. A lot of people use them in their hail strips, that section between the road and your sidewalk, you know, that's kind of hard to figure out what to grow. Mexican petunias actually work well in there because number one, it kind of contains them, other than the seed. I mean, the seed can move too, but the, you know, actual spreading of the plant is kind of contained, and they're super vertical. Super vertical, so it kind of makes it's kind of a good choice in that hill strip if you're going to use, you know, something planted in there other than turf. They're really invasive down in Florida. I mean, really, the warmer the area, the more invasive those Mexican petunias are. So up here in 7, winter kind of controls them a bit, and they're a bit spready. Zone 8, winter doesn't control them as well, and they're a bit more spready. In zone 9, they're just, you know, just weeds everywhere. Go down anywhere in the Gulf, especially over toward Louisiana, South Louisiana. They're just weeds everywhere. Let's see. Somebody asked me about the power washing chemicals being dangerous for their plants. Yeah, some plants are more susceptible to the bleaches and things than others. I have found that tougher things like hollies just don't seem to be fazed by it. I'm sure there are some things. I would encourage you. I power washed my own house, and probably at some point I haven't had to power wash this place because the back siding's been replaced. The rest of the siding's going to be replaced, and so this being new hasn't need to be power washed, and the other side I'm not going to power wash if I'm going to pull that aluminum off eventually. But I haven't done any power washing here, but the old house I power washed myself, and I never used a chemical. I was able to get it 90% clean without using a chemical, and so I felt like I didn't really need to use any of the cleaners. The power washer, amazingly enough, will take most of the problem away. Some faint hint of it without using bleach of the mildews or whatever that are on it, or algae, whatever's on it. That you know, vinyl siding. I just didn't care. I mean, nobody else knew yet. From 10 feet away, you couldn't tell that it wasn't perfect. So if you're doing it yourself, I just use the water. And if you have a good power washer, water is probably adequate enough to power wash your house without using those chemicals anyway. Okay. Oh man, I got all kinds of things about things blooming at weird times and bulbs coming up and that kind of thing. All of those. I don't know if I'm more observant about it or more weird stuff's happening. It could be that I'm more observant of it, and so I don't want to discount that I do pay attention a lot more than maybe I did when I had my nursery or at other times in my life. That the daffodils are up and my Peruvian lilies are up, and I saw salvia blooming at the Ralston this morning. I shot a video over at the Ralston this morning, by the way, with Mark Wethington. I messed up the audio again. It's not as bad as the Durr video. If you watch the Durr video, that was awful audio. So it's not awful. He's totally understandable, but it's not great. It'll go up in the next couple days. But it's another not great audio job from Jim. It's a new set of mics I got, and I'm wearing one right now, and this will sound perfect. But when I put 2 people on it, I forget to make one subtle change. I know now. I've done it twice. But anyway, lots of things are coming up early, not going to sleep, doing weird things, blooming at odd times. And again, I could be more observant of it, or something odd is definitely afoot. I've got daffodils up in the front yard again. And so most of these times, these cool season bulbs, if they come up, they'll be fine. They're super cold hardy. Another I'll go ahead and cover. Somebody said their peonies coming up already. Peonies are super cold hardy. I don't think they'll have a problem. If you've got some leaves, you may entomb it just a bit to protect it somewhat, but I don't think your peony will have any problem, nor do I think these bulbs will have any problem. But I am noticing that things aren't asleep the way they should be. You know, and hopefully the temperature doesn't just dive bomb so quickly that it's a problem. But can't do much about it. There's nothing you can do about it, honestly, is the answer to all of these. Let's see. Somebody asked me, do I thin the leaves in the beds? Yeah, if I had, so I have this oak back here. I'll show you guys on one of the tour videos. It's about a 60-foot oak that's behind me. It's not on this property, but it dominates the back of this property, and that's where all these leaves are coming from. It's just one tree, so my leaves are thick back here, but they're not so thick that they're obnoxious. I have been in places where, you know, and done landscaping and maintenance and that kind of thing, where 2 or 3 of those oak trees, you know, the leaves would be piled up like this, and that's too many. There is a point where it's too many, and at that point, I'm going to shred them or move them off the property. But all I do is go through here, and when the wind blows it up against a plant and it seems too thick, I just use the rake and pull them away. So I just keep them kind of as evenly spread out as I can. Eventually, you know, they rot and they're gone. I'm going to cover them with mulch. I mean, almost all the leaves have dropped. So I'm not far from trying to get it out of all my plants, get the leaves down flat to the ground, and then I'm just going to mulch. I'm going to encapsulate them in mulch, and they become part of my mulch. Okay, removing landscape fabric. I'm about to do another video on landscape fabric. I have an old video on the channel about the pros and cons of weed control fabric. There are no pros, but I tried to be diplomatic in that video just because, you know, it's YouTube and I didn't probably have as much confidence, you know, in myself or whatever at that time. There are no pros to putting plastic all over the earth. It's, you know, zero pros. Okay, you know, spoiler alert on that video, the upcoming landscape fabric video. Some landscaper talked this person into using landscape fabric, and now they have all kinds of issues with. They still have weeds. You know, another spoiler alert. You still get weeds come in on top of it. It might delay it 12 months, 24 months, something like that. But birds and things are still going to drop weed seeds on top of that, and then the roots root into the landscape fabric, and they're harder to pull than they would have been without the landscape fabric. So. Again, there are not shortcuts to gardening or farming or, you know, anything outdoor work. Not a lot of shortcuts to it, and that's one of them. It just doesn't. It's not a long-term solution. But what they actually asked as a question was the mulch that's on top of it. Should they just put that back down? Yeah, unfold that, get that landscape fabric out. Whatever mulch was sitting on top of it, heck yeah, reuse it. Put it right back. Put that organic material right back out of the bed. And then add some more mulch to it to make sure the ground is covered. I control a lot of my weeds. Now I have weeds like anybody else, but I control a lot of my weeds with the timing of my mulch. So if I was pulling up that landscape fabric this winter and putting my old mulch back out, I would want to remulch those beds right around March 1st, because I know most of the summer weeds are going to germinate March 15th to April 1st. Somewhere in that window is where the soil temperature gets just right for those weed seeds to germinate. So I want a cap on it at that time. If you put the cap on it right then, you'll eliminate a lot of the weeds that would have germinated during that spring manic growth of everything, crabgrass and all that kind of stuff. So mulch timing can be helpful, but landscape fabric ultimately is not, and this person is realizing that. And there'll be 5 other comments below this video about nightmares with it. Somebody will say, oh, it's the greatest thing ever, but trust me, there's 10 other people that have had a nightmare trying to get it out of the ground, and, you know. Anyway, okay, all right, so I had made a comment last week about growing things under oaks, and, you know, this mature oak back here being, you know, robbing plants on this back line initially, and then they made the comment that maples are worse, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've been saying this for 4 years on this channel, trying to discourage people from putting in, especially on small lots in urban areas or suburban areas, red maples. I understand why they're the tree of choice. They're beautiful in the containers. All these growers are so good at making perfectly straight red maples in 25-gallon pots and, you know, making them reasonably priced. But the roots are a nightmare. It's difficult to garden around them, and they're short-lived. They're actually very short-lived. Peony emerging, I already answered. Somebody said they couldn't find a heather plant in North Carolina and wondered why. It's a little hot here for heather. Heather, I think, is like maybe zone 4 to 6. I hope I'm right about that as I'm saying that in this video. We're in most of North Carolina, zone 7. Probably the highest peaks in North Carolina could be zone 6, 6A, maybe even a 5B if you're living on top of one of the tall mountains. But so there might be somewhere way, way, way west in North Carolina along the Tennessee border where you could grow heather, but for the most part, most of the state of North Carolina, you're not going to find it in garden centers for that reason. Somebody asked me the best time to propagate figs, and I had said in the old video, early summer is the best time, and that is true. It's the best time. It's the easiest time as a homeowner just to stick one in the ground. You can almost take a cutting off a plant and stick it in the ground that time of year. But I had just had a conversation with another nurseryman. I was telling him my old fig propagation technique was actually to cut pieces about 12 inches long and rubber band about 10 of them together, stems, and then I would stick them in some soil and stick them in an unheated greenhouse or an unheated garage or something like that. And then about a month later, I'd stick them down in the soil maybe 3 inches. So any kind of potting soil. Leave about 9 inches of the stem sticking out. In about a month, I'd pull them out and some portion of them had rooted. Some won't and some will. And then I had new figs. That's how I actually did it at the nursery. And I did it in the winter time because it was easy. The leaves are off the plants. You can just hack away at them. So best time and easiest time, early summer, but now works if you want to do it now. Okay, somebody asked me what they do with the rejected plants in plant breeding. They chuck them out the door. I've got a couple in this garden. I've had a couple plant breeders just give me plants that they were never, that weren't going to go through. But introducing new plants is real business. Some of these plants sell, 1 million units a year. And so they don't want to accidentally have missed something and then somebody else grabbed it off the trash pile and was able to to make money off of it. So they get chucked. That's just what it is. They go in the compost pile. They go right back into the soil mix for the next ones. So they're not gone in the like they end up in a landfill. They're gone in they're in the next one is where they are feeding the next ones. But that's how that works. It's real business. Those all these branded plants and branded pots and all these new genetics. It's important for a lot of different reasons. I mean, universities have, some of the universities' hort programs, they're keeping the lights on with plant breeding. I mean, it's significant money that they have to continue to chase to make sure that their hort programs have, are funded properly. And it's just the nature of the world, the nature of how this works. But no, the culls are gone because, just in case they've made a mistake and not picked the right one, which probably has happened many times. I almost guarantee that there have been plants that were chucked that were probably the good one and it just hadn't shown itself yet, but they're moving quick. Okay, let's see. Somebody got my gardening is a journey t-shirt, wanted me to make a sweatshirt. I'll put that on the store this week. It'll be linked down below the videos where the shirts are. Sometime this week I'll get to that. Thank you for asking. Somebody has an LSU fig, which is a variety of fig. It's purple fig, that's why. And it was done at LSU, so that's why it's called an LSU fig. In Oklahoma, it dies to the ground every year, comes back, but it doesn't fruit because it dies to the ground every year. They're giving it to a friend in Texas, wanted to know if it would fruit when it was there. Yeah, absolutely. The only reason it's not fruiting is because it's being killed that significantly. It's spending so much time coming back every year. It probably gets little teeny figs, I would imagine, but not finished ones. One more here for this week. Somebody said their azaleas they're non-reblooming azaleas, so they're non-encore azaleas are rebloomed a few times, but they had cut some things down in the yard and made some changes, so I would imagine it's the azaleas adjusting to their more sunny location or shadier location or whatever that's causing them to rebloom initially. That may just bloom once this next year, but that's most likely what's happened. When you make changes, it's probably just like transplant. If I cut this oak down and some of this stuff's in more sun next year, it's definitely going to go through weird stage of, relearning its environment. So I would imagine that's what that is. So there were a few more questions. If I don't get a lot of questions down below this video, I'll go back and pick from those. Thanks everyone for participating. Make a comment below this video for a chance to win a consultation or ask a question down below as well. And the question also enters you in the drawing. And that's it. Thank you guys for following along with the channel, and I'll be back soon.